Let's get right into it and totally demystify how to build a back-end banking analytics API from scratch. If you're looking to understand exactly how data moves from a raw database straight to a web-accessible URL, you are in the exact right place for this explainer. We're going to actively build this architecture up logically, step by step, using our foundational source code. But before we even look at a single line of code, let's clearly define our ultimate goal here. What are we actually building? We are generating an API endpoint. Think of this endpoint like a highly efficient digital waiter. You place an order, a data request, and this digital waiter runs back to the kitchen, gathers the exact ingredients you asked for, and delivers the perfectly prepared dish right back to your table. In our case, that delicious dish is financial analytics data. Okay, here is our roadmap. We're using a bottom-up approach across 4 quick steps. 1. The banking database foundation. 2. Stored procedures and logic. 3. Building the C# web service. And 4. Generating API endpoints.
Section 1. The banking database foundation. Setting up the pantry with APTestDB.
Think of this database as our restaurant's pantry, holding all of our raw ingredients securely in place. Our very first ingredient shelf is the customers table. Here, we're storing essential demographic and account information. We've got the customer's name, gender, age, city, country, account type, and the date they open their account. But the absolute anchor here, the most crucial piece of this schema, is the customer ID. This is our primary key, and it's set up to auto-increment, making sure every single customer has a unique, distinct identifier. Right next to it, we have our second shelf, the transactions table. This one is dedicated to tracking every single financial movement. It records an exact date, the transaction type, a precise decimal amount, and a description. And just like the customers table, it's got its very own unique anchor, which is the transaction ID primary key. Now, the crucial relationship between these two tables is that shared customer ID field. This is definitely not an accident. We use an alter table command to specifically make the customer ID in the transactions table a foreign key that references back to the customers table. This creates a vital, unbreakable bridge, permanently linking a specific person in the first table to all of their financial activity in the second. Honestly, this relationship is the entire backbone of our analytics. Section 2, stored procedures and logic, the recipes for our data.
So, moving up the software stack, we have our raw data. But now we need standardized instructions on how to actually prepare it. We achieve this through SQL stored procedures. These represent our menu of capabilities. We've got scripts to get all customers, calculate a get customer balance summary, pull up a specific user with get customer by ID, grab all get transactions, or narrow things down with get transactions by customer. This tells us exactly what grouped data our API will ultimately be able to retrieve for the end user.
Let's actually look at a specific logic flow in action. Take the get transactions by customer procedure. The SQL logic here is beautifully simple, yet super powerful. It takes a specific customer ID as an input parameter. It then selects everything from the transactions table where those IDs match. And, this is crucial for a good user experience, it orders the results by the transaction date descending. That means the newest, most relevant transactions are always served up first. Section 3, building the C# web service, designing the waiter. With our database and SQL recipes perfectly prepped, we're ready to design that digital waiter using C# to create our banking analytics API application. The big thing here is following the exact architectural steps to set up the C# file. First, we import a robust list of libraries, things like system, system.web.services, and system.data SQL client. This ensures our code actually possesses the tools to communicate over the web and talk to our SQL database. Second, we establish our banking analytics API namespace. And third, we apply our web service attributes. Looking a bit closer at those attributes, we have the web service tag with a default namespace of tempuri.org and the web service binding tag conforming to WSI profiles basic profile 1_1. These specific, mandatory attributes essentially act like a uniform for our waiter. They tag our code as a legitimate, standardized web service, ensuring that completely different front-end applications, no matter how they're built, understand exactly how to talk to our backend.
Section 4. Generating API endpoints. Serving the data.
We finally reached the top of our stack, combining our C# wrapper and our SQL procedures to generate the actual tangible API endpoints. But there's a critical final detail here. In the C# template, there is a specific commented outline for system.web.script.services.script service. By simply uncommenting this one single line, you officially turn your C# methods into accessible endpoint URLs. It enables the web service to be called directly from client scripts like ASP.NET AJAX. Suddenly, boom, your backend database is securely talking to the open web. And just like that, our digital waiter is open for business and ready to take orders. Now that you possess the exact blueprint to confidently connect a SQL database to a C# web service and generate real API endpoints, the exciting part really begins. How are you going to use these powerful new connections? With your foundational banking analytics endpoints now successfully mapped from the database straight to the web, what kind of stunning front-end dashboards and applications will you build to bring this financial data to life? The foundation is all yours. Now go build on it.